Joining us now is Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren, a member of the January 6th committee. Congresswoman Lofgren, thank you so much for being here tonight and spending your Friday evening with us. Let me just first start with the number of records that you have received from the Secret Service. I believe it's 1 million pieces of electronic communication in the past 2 weeks, and that is on top of 800,000 pages of material since July. Now, on one hand, that seems like a lot of material and important evidence for the committee. But on the other hand, I wonder whether that also might be an attempt to overwhelm the committee with just a mountain of evidence. Do you see anything at all potentially undermining in the volume of material that's been given to the committee?
I will say the interaction between the Secret Service and the committee has been cause for concern. We didn't realize until the Inspector General gave a report that they had erased all the phones after committees had told them to keep all their records. And as we mentioned yesterday in our hearing, the Department of Justice told them to preserve all the evidence. And what was in that they would defy that order and violate the law? It's a question we still have. We didn't get very much information until finally we subpoenaed them. Then we got some information, and it wasn't until over the Labor Day weekend when several of us really threw a huge fit and discussed this with higher ups in the department that we started to get a huge volume of material. Millions, as you have pointed out. I don't know whether, I won't speculate. It was not easy to go through all that information, but I want to give credit to the staff that worked nights and weekends, and we actually did go through and sort out material, and there was some important material that we found, some of which we showed in our hearing on Thursday. The evidence that we got does not necessarily mesh with some of the testimony that we received, and so we will be seeking some clarification from witnesses.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that, but in terms of the cooperation from the Secret Service, from the agency, can you tell, you said you weren't getting anything until you threw a fit. Did they have a response? Did they have an explanation about why they'd been holding on to over 1 million electronic records that ended up being very pertinent to your investigation?
I thought they were lame excuses, but I will say once the secretary and the special counsel that he appointed to oversee this got involved, the information really started to flow. Speculating as to their rationale would not be useful at this point. I will just say that there is some concerning issues. I mean, for example, they represented that there was no monitoring of social media, that they didn't know anything. Well, that's clearly not the case. We've got the evidence that they didn't know anything about the threatened violence. Well, clearly they did. I mean, putting aside the threats that they knew about, certainly even the day before, they saw the armed people that were arriving, and they did not take steps to properly protect not only their protectees, but the Congress. And so we have a lot of questions about the agency. But I do want to say this, that those questions should not be read to impugn the integrity and the hard work of many fine individual agents who serve bravely and courageously in their jobs.
Yeah, and you have gone out of your way to say that there is courage and integrity among certain agents in the agency, if you will. But you also told my colleague Nicole Wallace today there's a problem in the agency, and I wonder, do you believe that problem is widespread? When you talk about re-interviewing witnesses, are we talking about 1 or 2 people, or is it more than that?
Well, some of it is, we want to know who did what, when, and why, but there may also be a culture problem in the agency. For example, we didn't present this yesterday, but subsequent to the riot, I mean, you remember, Kevin McCarthy was talking to the president, and the president was trying to say, well, this is Black Lives Matter or Antifa. And McCarthy said, no, these are your people. They just ransacked my office. Everybody knew what happened. But agents said, well, could this have been Antifa? I mean, these are Trump supporters who were blind to what was going on because of their political beliefs. And that's dangerous. Because if you can't see what is before you, you can't act to protect those who are in your care.
Well, I mean, and let's talk explicitly. There were death threats against the vice president, and they were with they basically led the vice president to a place that could have been a death trap. I mean, I guess I just wonder, in your estimate,
was.
Yeah.
He was minutes away, actually. I think you would probably recall the exchange between the agents and the Emergency Operations Center at the White House, where agents were fearing for their own lives and hoping to get messages to their families. They came very close to all of them being victimized. That the vice president and his small team of protective Secret Service people were sent in to the Capitol when they knew that an armed mob of thousands of people was going to be sent to attack them. I mean, it's pretty shocking and leads to a lot of questions.
Yeah, the questions about willful blindness and intentionality.